gonna. All right, so our agenda's up there. So the first thing, the main thing for today was going to be resume feedback. Raise your hand if you submitted your resume online to Rosalind. Yay for you! Good job, everyone.
100%.
Okay, Rosalind was going to be here today, and she was going to take you one at a time right there in the hall and give you face-to-face feedback, because I think face-to-face feedback is the best. Well, she emailed me about 4 o'clock and said she couldn't make it today. So she's going to send me a written critique of each of your resumes to pass on to you. Written feedback is good. It's not as good as face-to-face because you can't ask that immediate question. But she's available to you guys. So if you get her written feedback and you're like, I don't know what she means right here, or why did she say leave that out? I thought I should leave that in. You want to ask her, call her, email her, or whatever. We may get her to come another night, but we won't have seminar the next 2 nights because of spring break, so I don't know if we're going to be able to squeeze her in or not. But she has reviewed all of your resumes. She told me everybody who sent theirs in by March 1st has been reviewed, and I have written critiques, and I can send them from the office tomorrow. So that's where we sit with resumes. Okay, the other thing, TK20, your final portfolio is not due for another month and a little bit, but Irene has directions of how to create your final portfolio from your preliminary portfolio, and that's a process. It's not difficult, but you don't want to wait till the last minute to do it, and so I thought that might be a good thing while we have computers in front of us to go over, so that's there. I think some people got started with that. Plus, it's kind of good to at least do one while we're all in here so you can help each other. If you're having any trouble with TK20, the mechanics of TK20, contact Irene. Okay? I'll help you with content. Irene helps with the TK20. All right. Then today we're going to do a professional development web quest, which is why we're here in the computer lab mainly. And then also there was some serendipity here because those people who can't be here for ICE Day, this is actually, of all the days to not be here, probably the best one because it is a web quest. So that's, and I started making it more like that the closer we got to having ICE. Okay. But along professional development, we're going to skip right to one of them, is laying the foundation. So if you take a look at this handout right here, this one, you guys have an incredible opportunity. So NIMSI, the National Mathematics and Science Initiative, has partnered with, or Laying the Foundation is now a part of NIMSI, I guess. I have been to this training. I would rank it in the top 3 trainings I've been to as a professional. Okay? It usually costs $750. They're letting you go for free. Because you are a member of a UTeach replication site. So, the information about it in general is here. There's an online registration. And, guys, in addition to going for free, they're actually going to reimburse you some for driving. All right? Now, if you look on the back, there are Laying the Foundation trainings all over the country. And if you go on the website and click, you can look at all of them. So, but I didn't think that I had anybody in here who lived out of state. I know I have some people who live out of the city. So all I did was take the ones in Texas so that it would fit on this page. So there's one here in Fort Worth in June and one in Carrollton in June. So if you live in this area, those are awesome. But then I know some of you live in Houston, and then I don't know if someone will be in El Paso by the end of July or not. There's there in El Paso for you.
We are going 1st of June.
Okay, well see, then you'll be there. You'll go to Laying the Foundation, and if you're not already hired, it'll probably happen that week. So, yeah. I have no idea where Klein is. Anybody know where Klein, Texas is? I didn't get a chance to Google it.
I think that's out west.
And then Alamo, Texas.
No, one of my wrestlers beat a guy from Klein.
I live in San Antonio. You would think Alamo might be close to there, but that didn't ring a bell. But it is a 7-8 zip code, so I've never maybe somewhere. I don't know. So, guys, this is a phenomenal opportunity. Phenomenal. It's quality professional development in your content. So they have high school math, high school science, middle school math, middle school science. And the thing is, it's something, now I don't know if they'll continue to pay for it, but it's an in-service that you can go to for 3 years. So the first year, you go through modules 1 through 4. And then if you go a second year, you do 5 through 8. And if you go a third year, you do 9 through 12. High quality stuff, and if you want to talk more about it with me individually, you can, but best thing is probably just go on the website and do it. I'm thinking, there's us, but there's UTD, there's UTA, they're offering this across the board to all the replication sites. I'm thinking these ones that are here are gonna fill up quickly, so take advantage. Yes, Brandon?
Does the certification come along with these, like when you complete the modules, or no?
You'll receive professional development hours,
Mhm.
yes, but I don't know, is that what you mean? Do you-
Yeah,
Hours,
so these
yes.
hours go towards like,
Your continuing education hours, yes, they would. Any other questions?
If they wind up filling up and you decide you want to go to El Paso to go to it, give me a holler. I'll have a couch, a floor, a spare bed, something for you.
All right, Dale, thank you very much. All right, so that's one professional development opportunity there. All right, and why do we care about professional development? Yes, Vika.
So, do they all teach the same thing, or will be different ones?
They all, well,
Or is
everything teaches the same thing. When you click on one, it will tell you something like, we are offering levels 1 and 2, or, because not everybody offers all 3 levels, because they've only been doing it this way for a few years, so some places only offer levels 1 and 2, and they don't offer the 3rd level yet. But, yeah, you looking at going to multiple ones possibly?
Yes.
I think that would be possible. You may want to email, for special situations like that, on the front, there's an email, Rhonda, Brandon, right there. So if you have any questions, email Rhonda. She'll get back with you. So, yeah, that's an idea with the dates. Like, if you went and did level 1, modules 1 through 4 in Arlington, and then did the next 4 modules the next week in Carrollton, would they pay for both? We'd have to ask her that. So ask that question. I don't know, they may only do 1 per person per year.
Klein is down by Houston.
Klein is by Houston, thank you.
Alamo's by McAllen,
Alamo is by McAllen.
right on the border
Where's
of
McAllen?
Mexico and Texas.
All right.
So
Way
going to
down
Cancun
there.
trip, everybody?
So we learned a little geography. All right, so how does this tie in with what we're doing? Because Miss Collier tries to connect all the dots. So you have a portfolio reflection on professional development. So there it is. And it says, professional development is anything you do to advance your skills or expertise in your profession. Now listen to what it says. Describe what you have done and what you are currently doing to improve your teaching skills. Describe your professional development plan for remaining current in your subject area and in best teaching practices. So the way you want to get started with this, and you may want to take out your journals, because that's where your portfolio stuff is. And I saw and thank Alyssa. Alyssa reminded me because she got her journal out before I said it. Yeah, everybody else get out their journals. Yes, sir.
So I have some from TESOL. Can I include that in my portfolio, or?
Yes. So this is your Blackboard PowerPoint. So these things are going to be there. But the way you want to kind of structure this is, last week I asked you to bring in your NTACT and your CALs, and we kind of took a look at those. And then you're going to be doing student surveys at some point. Has anybody done their student surveys already?
Made one.
A couple
Or
of you
not.
made them. Okay.
Made 'em? Yeah.
So, you're going to get those in. You're going to get input from the students. But you also have how your students are doing in your class, like their test scores and stuff, or any other data that you have. Because you want to be thinking, what are some strengths that I have, but that I want to build on? But no, it doesn't have to be something you're bad at. It can be a strength that you want to enhance. Or it could be an area that you want to improve. So it can be both. So you kind of want to start by thinking of what those things are in your mind, and then think about what have you done to improve your teaching. have you done, past tense. So, when the semester started, some of you may have started your first day at a professional development with your mentor on campus. That counts, all right? Some of you have gone to Project Nexus. That's professional development. And you already knew, say, you know, you didn't know yet, but you said, I knew I had an interest in teaching ESL students, or I knew that because I'm going to teach in the state of Texas, there were going to be a lot of ELL students in my classes, so I took advantage of this training already. As the semester progresses, you might get to go to some more professional development things on your campus. Guys, the idea is not, we don't expect you to have done a lot already. If you've only done one thing, that's okay. Then, what are you currently doing in the present? Now, this ties into your feedback one. So, if you have noticed a shortcoming or something you need to work on, and then that question becomes, what are you going to do about it? So we've kind of walked you through a scenario. If we take the working the crowd. So, your mentor gathered data of how you circulated the room, right? But then, what did you do? You read a chapter from a book about that topic. And then hopefully you changed your behavior, or continued your behavior, reinforced your behavior, somewhere in there. But reading a book, reading a chapter out of a book, you don't even have to read the whole book. But again, you're student teachers. We don't expect you to be doing massive amounts presently, but something. So you can't ignore the past, you can't ignore the present. You have to include those, even in little pieces. But then, what do you intend to do to stay current in the best teaching practices? So that's the future. What are you going to do to continue knowing the best teaching practices? And what are you going to do to stay current in your subject area? You have to look at both. And guys, when we talk about the future, we don't just mean the first month after you graduate. So the one thing that I've read with some people put detailed ones, they talk all about what they're going to do the summer after they graduate. And then it's like you're going to be filled up with professional development and you're going to be set for the rest of your life. Guys, professional development doesn't work that way. It's continuous. So if you say that you think CAMT, the Conference for the Advancement of Mathematics Teachers, is really awesome to attend and you're going to attend it. So are you going to attend it one summer? Are you going to plan to go every summer? Are you going to plan to go every other summer? Once every 3 years when it's in your city, because it rotates between DFW, Houston, and San Antonio? Like, we're wanting future plans. So a little bit immediately in the future, something you might do in the coming year, but also towards the future, because you're going to be a teacher for a long time. Okay? Now, you might be thinking, well, I want to go to stuff, but I don't know where it is. I don't know what to do. This Collier's got you set, all right? That's where we're going to do our web quest. So I have prepared for you some things that you might want to include, that you might actually want to go to, all right? That's the other piece of paper that you have. So on that paper, we're going to write through. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about them quickly, but then you can go through and click the link and go like, oh, yes, I want this. Or you can go, oh, that doesn't look good to me. Exit off my list. Now, some of these there's going to be overlap. So, it says what professional learning, first of all, there's a definition for professional development that comes from CAPE, which is the agency that accreditates institutes of learning like this. So, that's like an official definition of professional development for you there. And we've got learning activities. So, learning activities can be reading a book independently or with a study group. So, what books might you want to read? So here's a few suggestions from Ms. Collier. Tools for Teaching by Fred Jones. Guys, that's the book that I've been giving you chapters from. So if you like the style of writing, and you like the way he makes analogies and the things he says, I mean, you've only read 3 chapters. There's like 20-something in the book. Maybe you want to read that book. First Days of School by Harry and Rosemary Wong. that's kind of on, it's what do you call it, first days of school, procedural stuff to get the school year started. Teach Like a Champion is one that I have not read, but Ms. Osborne highly recommends. And this one gives you little scenarios, things to do, short and sweet. Teaching with Love and Logic, that's classroom management. That's a classroom management style. Mindset by Carol Dweck, the short article that I gave you about growth mindsets and fixed mindsets. If you're like, oh, I thought what that lady was saying was so cool, read her whole book. She's got more to say. That was just a synopsis. Now, there's crossover here because if you click on something like Teaching with Love and Logic, okay, wait.
Bless you.
All right, now that was the book, right? So when it takes you to this website, you can order the book from this website. In fact, there's multiple books you can order. There's books for teachers, there's books for parents, there's books for different kinds of kids. But also on this website, there's also conferences about Love and Logic. Guys, there's also some free articles and handouts. So maybe you're like, I don't want to read the whole book. I just want to read some free articles. So there's some crossover there. So that's why I want you to go to these websites and check them all out. I'm just kind of giving you an overview right now. All right, now how can I get back to my PowerPoint? All right. It doesn't have to be books. So another resource that you can use are teacher websites or blogs. Any of my math people know Dan Meyer?
Ready to Bill
Okay.
Meyer?
Dan Meyer is a PhD candidate at Stanford University, and he's a math teacher, and he's absolutely amazing. And if you're like, I don't even know this guy. Anyway, there's a TED Talk. TED Talk, it's about 12 minutes. It's on YouTube. So if you're like, what is it? First thing you should do is watch the TED Talk. And if you watch the TED Talk, you might want to say, I want to just crawl inside this man's brain and see everything he says and thinks. And that's the way I feel about him.
He's pretty.
So you can follow him on his blog. He posts all kind of stuff. He's really awesome. Raise your hand if you know that Dr. Q has a website. Okay. Our very own Dr. Q has a website, Mean Green Math. So subscribe to that one, okay, and catch up on his reading. Teaching Channel. This is one that you have to register for, but it's free. It's just a matter of registering, providing your email. And these have little videos about how to teach different things. And then once you're registered, they'll send you a weekly email kind of highlighting 3 videos for the week. So it's really cool. There's some awesome stuff on there. Now guys, this is across K through 12, and it's all subjects and all grade levels. So sometimes you might be, oh, that's kindergarten, I don't want to look at that one. But there are some that are specifically math and science. There are some that are specific to classroom management. And you can search once you're in their thing and find their videos. So I highly recommend Teaching Channel. NCTM is your National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. Once you're on that website, you can find information on conferences, but you can find a bunch of other stuff too. Then for science people, your comparative website there is your National Science Teachers Association, NSTA. And same thing, once you log into NSTA and kind of register, I know even though I'm math, I'm logged in through NSTA and they send me an email every week updating me on something. So that's the other thing, that's how you stay current, because they keep emailing you. Then we have our very own website, Teach North Texas. Have y'all been to our website? Ever? I know you're enrolled in our program.
Good enough for you all.
Ms. Collier?
Yes, Chitra.
Does Flynn certification also count as professional development?
Yes, I would include that.
Okay.
Flynn certification, certainly. So one of the things I want you guys to notice on our Teach North Texas website is there is a spot here specifically for who? Alumni, which you're about to be real soon.
Hopefully.
Okay?
Hopefully.
And
as a portfolio.
Induction, this is how we service you once you've graduated. One of the things we do for you, and so see here, here's these Saturday workshops.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Now, I don't think we're gonna have the March one. Ms. Walls is in charge of our workshops. And I don't know if the March one's gonna happen or not. But you guys got it, you got invited to the blast off for new hires, right? No, yes? Okay, well, maybe not. But once you do graduate, so next year, you'll get invited to these, and you can see they're usually Saturdays from 9 to 12, and it's not every Saturday or anything, it's once a month, once every other month. So there's some professional development for you right there. The other thing, go back a page. Want to point out to you that down here, summer 2014, we had a professional development institute. Anybody in here come to it? Caleb came. Guys, what happened was we invited our grads, and then if we still had spaces, we invited people who were apprentice teaching last semester, and then if we still had spaces, we invited people who were apprentice teaching this semester. And there's more math of you than there were science. So that's why you're like, nobody told me about it. Well, some of the science people got invited because we didn't have enough science people. So we had a geometry institute, an algebra institute, and it was not my idea to do these pictures. Chemistry and biology. But the thing is, when you click on here, because the people who went to the institute have access to all the materials from the institute.
Wow.
So the algebra one was all in quadratics. If you're in algebra 1 and you're teaching quadratics, you can come on here and steal all this information.
Oh, yeah.
We had lots of fun.
I'm tired of quadratics.
And
Too freaking weak.
just because we're already on here,
It's like 3 days.
Still.
Okay,
Are y'all
special.
gonna do that again this summer, maybe?
probably not, because this was money that we had left over that we had to spend is part of the reason.
You should definitely send that link and invite all of us. So those who want to get how to get there.
Teach North Texas.
You're a G.
You have the link.
Yeah.
Put a star next to it.
Not making her do all the work,
All right, so you've got lesson plans that are written in 5E lessons already, see? Lines to the new teaks and everything, this computer will let me. Already got objectives and everything. But if this link works, I wanted to show you guys this just because I think it's totally awesome. Maybe not, maybe the link doesn't. Okay, who's good with computers and Macs?
Kyle is.
What?
It might be that this, I'm trying to open this link in this document. But it may be
She's
the way I
better than me.
created it, but it might be correct.
What's that do?
I will dominate.
Alright, so maybe when this got uploaded, it didn't get embedded right. I'll find this and show it to you later. Alright. So there's your websites, your teacher websites and blogs to go to. Okay. The other thing that professional development could include is webinars. You guys imagine teachers that are teaching out in rural places. How are they gonna get developed? They don't have anybody to talk to but the cows.
If they don't have internet.
So that's where technology comes in, it's great. So Texas Instruments, guys, they have webinars that you can sign up and go to, but everybody knows, okay, don't start your questions with everybody. Is there anybody who does not know what a webinar is? Okay,
Sorry,
who would like to explain webinars?
since everybody else has experience in it.
Kyle?
It is sometimes where you actually pull up like a little video and you get to watch them there. Sometimes it's like a bunch of activities. It kind of depends on the format they want to have it in.
Is it like a
And then
webcast?
sometimes it's even like they can see you and you can actually ask questions back too if you have a camera up. Just kind of depends on the format.
So you can go to kind of live webinars. Usually when they advertise, there's a webinar at 2 o'clock on this register. It's a live feed and it's interactive. But then if it's an archived webinar, that means they've just recorded the professional development and you can go in and watch it. So Texas Instruments has both live webinars and recorded webinars. So if you're like, okay, I got hired at this school and they've got these great calculators, but I haven't used them before, I don't know what to do with them. Teach yourself through the webinars, okay?
Google.
But I put that up there under webinars, so they offer webinars, but they also offer workshops. And Caleb went to one this past summer. And so this is not just a math thing, just because it's Texas Instruments.
It was
Do you
actually
want to give
really
a
good.
word or two about that?
Yeah, well, for one thing, you get, I got a calculator and some software and the professional development for less than what you pay for that calculator at Walmart. So it was really worth the money.
And that you got because you were a pre-service teacher.
Exactly, do it
So
now.
if you want to do something that TI offers, register before graduation. Because what he attended for, I think it was like $95, less than the
Yeah.
calculator. And the other people sitting in the room with him paid $300.
And it's the fancy new TI Inspire calculator. Well,
So-
you might need to learn some.
Yes,
They have, their conference is it tomorrow or next week? Next Friday?
yeah,
It's next Friday.
next Friday. It's here in Fort Worth,
But it's all
T-Cubed
weekend.
International. Yeah, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. ASCD used to stand for like Association of Supervisors in Curriculum Development or something. It doesn't actually stand for that anymore, but they've kept the acronym. That's great educational pedagogy stuff. So guys like Marzano, you read Marzano in Classroom Interactions. Grant Wiggins and Jay Matai, Backward Design, those guys are published through ASCD. So ASCD has lots of books, has conferences, very expensive conferences though, don't go unless your school district pays for you to go. But they have archived webinars. And so they are gonna have lots of webinars on specific things like how to do formative assessment, how to do formative assessment with technology, general classroom management for kids in poverty. I mean, so you can scroll through and find particular archived webinars that you wanna watch from that. Alright. Then, what most people actually think of when they think of professional development is actually going to a workshop or a conference. So here's some that you might want to go to. CAMP is the state one for math, and CAST is the state one for science. They're held once a year. The math is usually held in the summer, June or July. The science one is usually held in November. Kagan Cooperative Learning, that is the Kagan structures that we do, like Rally Coach, that comes from Kagan. You might say, well, I'm already good at that. I've only shown you a handful. There's so many. So you can go to workshops. But again, once you go to the workshop, you can also read some articles for free or whatever. So I have it under workshops, but there's other stuff on their website. Eric Jensen does brain-based workshops. I've been to his in San Antonio a couple years back. It's really awesome stuff. If you have me in CI, you got a little tiny taste of it. This is a lot about the kids living in poverty too, and the idea of what stress does and how stress affects the brain. And so there's an inverse correlation between stress and perceived control. And so when you're out of control, your stress goes up, but if you have some control, your stress goes down. So if you're teaching kids in high poverty, what do you need to do? You need to give them control. There's that correlation. That's the research. That comes from Eric Jensen. So if you're like, oh man, when Ms. Collier talked about that, that was cool, then you'll like Eric Jensen. Dinah Zeig does foldables. I know we did a foldable a couple weeks ago, and some of you, I've seen you do them in your own classrooms. And she's stationed right outside of San Antonio, so she does an annual academy there, but she also does some traveling workshops. So you check out her website. Laying the Foundation is the one you get to go to for free if you register, because you're special You Teach Institute people. Then the state of Texas has organized our education service into region service centers. And region 10 and 11 are in this area. And so the region service centers offer workshops. Okay? Now what usually happens is the districts kind of buy in. So once you get employed by a district, whatever service center you're in, you might get to go to their workshops for free, and people outside of their service center pay. It depends. But sometimes a lot of stuff is free. Sometimes while you're still pre-service, things might be free. And those of you who have done Project Nexus, you have access to some things through Service Center 10, specifically because you've completed that training. And that's all I have on there. On your printed out sheet, though, I've also added the fact that training on something you use in the classroom specific, like how to use the smartboard. That's a training. If that tool is going to help you in your classroom, that would be professional development. So how to use any particular device that's going to help you teach, that counts as well.
So the app training through the technology department at your school will also count, right?
Yes, it would. Definitely.
What is like,
Yes.
For people wanting to be coaches, does that count as anything? Because I know I've been to a couple of Texas things, and it does count as professional development, I guess, hours, but.
It's all good to include. Make sure that that doesn't take over
Right.
the focus of things you're doing to prepare for the classroom. But there's definitely a correlation there, so. Yes.
I guess along those lines, like for portfolios to say, if you were wanting in the future to get more certifications, would that count as something to write about?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, in the past, I have been invited to sit in on one particular professional development workshop, but I wasn't really, I'm not a member of that particular association. Would it be okay for me to write that even though I'm not a member of that association, but I
Yes,
attended?
you went to that one event, yes. Just make sure you write it as such. You don't write it making it sound like you're a member. Yes, Dan?
if you just sit there and learn some of the technology for the classroom on your own, does that count as professional development? Or do you need to like have some sort of document that I went through this thing and learned how to use this thing?
Let's go back to the definition. Read it out loud for us, Dan.
Opportunities for educators to develop new knowledge and skills through professional learning activities and events, such as in-service education, conference attendance, sabbatical leave, summer leave, intra and inter-institutional visitations, fellowships, and work in P through 12 schools.
It's rather vague, isn't it? To some degree. So, again, book studies or books, if you're gonna read a book yourself, that can count. So I think if you're gonna teach yourself something, that can count. But I know when I was getting my hours and stuff, that stuff you did independently could only count for a small percentage of your hours. You can't say, oh, I'm gonna go to the library and read 12 books and that counts for all my hours. You can't get all your hours in that capacity.
Now, are you talking about hours, like, as in your district wants you to do so many hours of professional development?
All right, so let's back up a little bit. I have to remember my audience I'm talking to. When you get certified, you have your teaching certificate, it's not good for forever, okay? It's good for 5 years. And when you renew your certificate, you have to attest to the fact that you have received the appropriate numbers of continuing education hours. I don't know off the top of my head how much it is annually. But it used to be that the school district you worked for kept records of it for you. That doesn't happen anymore. You are responsible for your own records. So every time you go to a conference, if they give you a certificate or if they don't, you write down the date and the time, and it started and the time that it ends. And like this, keep it electronically and or put it in a file and just dump it there. And when you go to renew your certificate, you have to say where your hours, and it's all self-reported now, but it's one of the responsibilities as a professional. So I'm talking about getting hours, but for your portfolio writing, we're not talking about, and you don't want to write it as such as like, well, this is how I intend to fulfill my hours. Because you shouldn't be seeking professional development because it's an obligation. You should be doing it to enhance your teaching and improve student learning. And guys, that's a big part. I want to do this to be a better teacher, and what does that lead to? So my students are better learners. So that's the end goal. To any professional development you go to, it should be to make your students better learners. The idea is if you're a better teacher, they'll be a better learner, so it's all fit together, but make sure you make those connections. Other questions, comments? All right, so we're not going to see each other for a while after tonight. So this yellow is kind of what's due in the next couple of weeks. First two are you already knew about. You're going to give your survey sometime. Guys, because of this ice day, I gave a couple extra days because I know you're trying to pack stuff in.